Alright. I'm not good at talking into cameras, so just bear with me as best as possible, and I'm gonna try to get through this as painlessly as possible, but no guarantees that there won't be any tears. Also, sorry for any echo, kind of in my bathroom, because it's the best place to have a nice even backdrop. Anyway, if you notice me looking down here, it's because I have my computer, because I typed up everything I wanted to say, so that way I can make sure I got out every little bit that I wanted to, and maybe add in my own tidbits as I go. So, okay, anyway. I don't even know where to begin. Phantom was the best thing that could have ever happened to me, and I can honestly say that without him, I would not be where I am today. I'm so blessed to have loved something so much that it hurt me as bad as it did to say goodbye. I remember the day that I found out I was riding him. My friend Riggy said that she had a friend who had a horse that needed a rider, and would I like to be that rider? And being the horse crazy girl that I was, getting on anything and anything, I of course said yes. So I was able to ride him at the next show that I was able to be at, which was a little delayed because I was at summer camp, the show that I was supposed to ride him at. So then we had to wait until the next one. So, but all I knew was that his name was Phantom and that he was a white horse. So now, naturally, I pictured this magnificent, majestic, pure white horse with long, flowing mane and tail, something that you would kind of picture in a fairy tale. And I was so excited. The first day of our first show together came, and in typical Riggy fashion, anyone that knows Riggy knows this, we were there extremely early, like first people there. And while I anxiously awaited the arrival of my horse, sorry, my cat's trying to break into the bathroom, but as I anxiously awaited the arrival of my horse, I started to get really nervous, and most people don't know this, but I almost chickened out to the point where I didn't ride that day because I was so nervous. Figure it's a horse I never met. I've never ridden in the show before. I'd ridden around outside, but I was nervous. But all my family was coming to support me and to see me, so kind of got roped into riding. So finally the trailer containing my horse pulled in, and Riggy was like, well, there's your horse, and I got even more excited. So now remember that giant, majestic white horse with long flowing mane and tail that I told you about? Well, off stepped the trailer, this long-backed, short-legged, big-headed off-white horse. And let me tell you, I couldn't be any more in love. The entire time his owner, Michelle, was saying things like, now he's not that fast, and he's a little spooky, you're not gonna win anything on him. And honestly, if she said anything else other than those things that I remember, I wasn't paying attention to her. I was too busy looking at Phantom. And then later, she actually told me that I looked like that if she had said the horse only moved backwards, I would have still been like happy as a clam. Which was true, because I was just infatuated with him. And also another about Michelle, she was actually the one who saw Phantom. She was actually the one that saw Phantom bonding with me before I even knew it was happening. She said that by like our third show together, she was watching him at the trailer, and he would be standing quietly when out of nowhere he would start pulling on the lead line and like trying to look around the trailer, and she couldn't figure out what he was looking at, but then he would settle down. And she said she watched him for a few minutes, and she noticed that Allie, my future now best friend, and I were walking on the other side of the trailer, and every time I had spoke is when he would start trying to look around, and when I stopped talking, he would stop trying to look and settle back down. She knew it well before I did that he chose me, and that means a lot. And after a series of unfortunate events involving another horse, I continued to ride Phantom in the shows, and we continued to get closer. And that December, Michelle actually gifted Phantom to me for my birthday. And I was so happy. He was probably one of the best birthday presents I could have ever gotten. And he's the one that I'll cherish the most. I'm pretty sure that I was in shock when I said it, because I remember just kind of staring at her and being like, what? I had already loved this horse with all of my heart, and now he was mine. So, of course, I'm going to be in shock. And that, my friends, was the beginning of our story. And we were the dynamic duo of Cassie and Phantom. Phantom and Cassie for almost a decade. He saw me at my best, and he saw me at my absolute worst. He put up with so much from me that other horses wouldn't even think of dealing with. He was my shoulder to cry on when I needed one. From just hugs and tears in the field to me actually falling asleep on a pile of horse blankets in front of his stall on a really windy night. That was a fun night. I was having a bad day. I drove down in the middle of the night, texted Scott, and I was like, going down to see Phantom. Going down to see Phantom. And sure enough, Scott didn't hear from me for a while, so he came all the way down to the barn, and there I was, sleeping on a pile of horse blankets with the barn cats crawled up around me right in front of Phantom's stall, because that was just what I needed. But he was always there when I needed him. So he was my constant, and I couldn't imagine life without him. So now this is where it's gonna get a little like for me. I'm gonna try not to cry, but because only people that are really close to me know the story of what happened that night. So I'm gonna get it out, and then this is gonna be my final step of closure. Just, this is it. But, all right. Here we go. Like I said, no promises. I'm sorry if I cry, but Phantom was with me on my own farm, my dream, for a year before that night. It was like any other night. I brought him in to eat, and he ran into his stall because I kind of spoiled him and kind of let him do what he wanted. So he ran into his stall and started eating his grain with his usual gusto. He was a piggy. Afterwards, he was excited to go back out, like he usually is, and as I opened the door, his face kind of froze for a second, but then it went back to normal, and I didn't think anything of it at the time because it is a word, they do weird stuff all the time. But then later on, I realized that moment, that was the pinpoint of a series of events that would change my life forever. And I don't think I'll ever forget that night. I won't forget anything, because it impacted me so much. But as quickly as everything happened that night, it felt like forever. Like I literally felt like years were going by. That's how bad it was. I watched him deteriorate so fast before my eyes. Like it looked like he lost like 150 pounds in an instant. Like all that fat that I had put on him and all that good weight, he looked great. And then in an instant, it was just, everything was just contracted. But I had let him out of his stall out to the field, and usually he'll turn around and nicker at me for his treat because, again, spoiled, so I would go and get him his treat. But this time he didn't do that. He walked away a couple steps and he laid down. So I was texting Casey about the time about hay or something, and I texted her and I was like, he just went down after eating his grain. Do you think anything's wrong? Like, do you think he's wrong? Because I'm a worrywart. Anyone who knows me knows I'm a worrywart when it comes to my horses. And she was like, well, just watch him and see what happens. Well, he tried to roll. So I was like, crap, and I'm thinking colic. So I run out there, I grab him, I bring him in, I run to take his temperature, listening for gut sounds. He's got gut sounds. Taking his temperature. Temperature is normal, actually like a little low. It's like 98. So not bad. But I was like, what are you doing? So I was like, okay, I'll take him back outside. So as I was walking him out of the barn, he just collapsed. Like just full on collapsed in the barn aisle. And meanwhile, I'm spazzing. I was texting Casey, so she knew what was going on. So I called her and I was like, he just went down in the barn aisle. I can't get him up. I'm like, I don't know what to do. And she's trying to calm me down. And she's like, it's okay. She's like, it's okay. I'm just gonna throw hay to my guys and I'll be at your house as fast as I can. And I was like, okay. So I'm like freaking out. I'm like trying to get him up. My barn, anyone that's ever been in my barn is concrete. Like it's cinder block. So it's not like I can move walls to get him out. Like he needs to get up and get out of the barn. So I'm trying to get him up. Finally, I got him up. As soon as I got him up, I ran him outside into his field. So I was like, if he goes down again, we're outside. It's okay. So we get out there and he just keeps going down and like thrashing and rolling. And I called Scott and I was like, I don't know what to do. Well, I didn't call Scott. I called the vet and I was like, I called the vet and I called her receptionist page person, because it was after hours, answered. And she was like, okay, I'll page her. It's okay. Calm down. I'm like freaking out. And then I called my dad. And my dad, I think Phantom's colic and there's something wrong because he's not home yet. And mind you, it's dark. Like it's pitch black out there. Like there's nothing. And excuse me. And so he's like, what do you mean there's something wrong with Phantom? I'm like, I gotta call. I'm like, the vet's calling me back. I gotta get off the phone. The vet's calling me back. She was. So I got on the phone with the vet and she's like, okay, what's going on? I could hear her and she's getting stuff ready, getting ready to come. And I was like, I think he's colicking. I don't know what's going on. He keeps going down. I can't get him up, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, okay, I'll be there as fast as I can. So meanwhile, I'm trying to keep him up because he just keeps collapsing. Like he collapsed and just thrash and thrash and thrash. And then out of nowhere, it'd be like he was fine. He'd just stand up, walking around, no problem, everything's good. And then a couple seconds later, just boom, down again. And I'm like, what is going on? And I'm thinking colic. So I'm calling Scott because I need someone to talk to, and I know Casey's driving. I don't want to call her. He's like, well, just try to keep him up. And I'm one girl in the dark with a 1,200-pound animal. I couldn't keep him up. He just kept going down. So as long as he wasn't thrashing, I let him go down. But that's the problem. Every time he went down, he was thrashing, but then he would stand up and be fine. So finally he went down, and it was weird. Like he went to roll halfway, and everything kind of got stuck. Like everything froze, and like his head was like just froze and tight. So I sat on the ground with him and I'm bawling right now because I'm like, I don't know what to do. And then he gets up again and he's normal and he poops. So I'm like, wait a minute, he pooped. Is he actually colicking? Like what's going on right now? Like it doesn't look like he's seizing. It doesn't look like he's having a stroke. So I'm like, I don't know what's going on. So he goes down again. And this time it really, all the muscles were rigid. Like, you could tell, it had to, something, it was off. And I'm petting his cheek, and I'm just telling him, it's okay, come on, bud, it's okay. Don't leave me, it's okay. And I'm touching his cheek. And I'm still on the phone with Scott at this point because I just need someone there to talk to me. And I could feel his cheek, and it kind of felt like putty. I know that sounds really weird, really strange, but it felt like putty. And I knew this from anatomy. That's what skin feels like when blood starts to congeal. So I was like, oh my God. And Scott was like, what's going on now? And I was like, I think I'm losing him. But I kept pushing that thought away because I didn't want to believe it. Like, come on, this was Phantom. He wasn't going anywhere. So finally I hear a horn. And I look up and it's Casey, and she comes running over to me and she grabs Phantom's lead line because I finally just got her back up again. She's telling me to lean on her. She's like, just lean on me. And I was like, no, I'm okay. She's like, no, you look like you're gonna fall over. Just lean on me. So I did. And I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm freaking out. I don't know where Dr. Sharon is. And after a couple minutes, Dr. Sharon got there and we let him out to the light so she could listen to him. And Phantom is sweating profusely and just I was so sure it was colic. And then Vet comes over and she's listening for his heart. And I remember standing at Phantom's head and I'm just petting him and I'm like, she's standing there for way too long. This isn't right. She's standing there for too long. Why is she still standing there? She pulled away and she looked at me and she was like, with how bad he's sweating and how much pain he's in, his heart rate should be through the roof, and it's barely there. And she said she thought it was best to let him go. And this is where it's gonna get a little, guys, sorry. So, I don't know how I didn't fall, to be honest. I don't remember, but I think maybe Casey or my vet, or even both of them, maybe grabbed me, because I just remember thinking, oh God, no. And so I called my dad and I told him that we had to put him down because his heart was failing. And he said he'd be home in 10 minutes. So I asked my vet, I was like, is there anything we can do to make him comfortable until my dad gets home? I can't do this until he gets home. She said, yeah, let's get him to a better area. She'll give him a sedative and some high dose of pain medication just to make him comfortable while we waited for my dad. I'm gonna grab a drink really fast, sorry. I'm trying to do this all in one fell swoop and it's hard. So she said we could do that. So we got him out to the middle of my yard and she came over, she gave him a sedative and the high dose pain medication. So that way he wouldn't feel pain. And somewhere in between there, I told Scott he could come over because I needed people. I needed people with me. People that could get there fast, I needed with me. And right as she had given him the sedative, he instantly just kind of like relaxed and he went back to Phantom. Like there was no pain. So I'm petting him and loving on him and telling him how much I loved him. I even offered him some treats, some of his favorite treats. And he didn't really want them, you could tell, but being the gentleman that he was, he took them and then dropped them and wasted them. But I was just happy he was taking them. And I made my calls to everyone, so anyone that got a phone call, you know who you are. So I'm petting him and loving on him. And my dad pulled up and he actually my truck was still attached to my horse trailer from I think it was the day before. So he actually took that and moved it because it was in front of the barn light, and then we had a lot more light. And my vet actually reached down to his fetlocks or checked for digital pulse down in his pasturing area, and she looked at me and she's like, I don't know how he's still standing. And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, Cassie's got no pulse. And I was like, what do you mean he's got no pulse? And she's like, he's got no pulse, he's got nothing. And I was like, oh my God. And that's when I realized I was holding up his head. So I kind of let it go and I just backed up and I was like, you can lay down if you're tired, bud, it's okay. So he walked like 2 steps and then he laid down. Like he was going to sleep. It was really like, thinking back on it, everything was really quiet, except for me, because I was sobbing like an idiot. But, oh, and I forgot to mention, before he laid down, Dr. Sharon listened to his heart, and she let me listen to it, because she said it sounds like something burst, because it wasn't like a thump thump, it was like a thump thump suck. It's like a sucking noise. So that made it a little easier as well, because it was very black and white. There was no gray area, there was nothing, there was no saving him. It was just help him pass peacefully. And that's what I promised him. I always promised him that when he was ready, I would let him go. But then later on, I made him promise me. I was like, Phantom, please don't make me make the decision, because I don't know if I'll be able to do it. And there was no choice. So I held up my promise, he held up his. But, so he laid down, and at that moment Scott pulled up and Dr. Sharon walked over to get the euthanasia drugs. And as she was going, getting everything situated, he stopped breathing. And I told him, I was like, it's okay, bud, you can go. It's all right. I'll be all right, you can go. And then he just like heaved himself back up and started breathing again. And like he was trying to stay with me. And she came over and she gave him the injection. And I just held him. And I just held him and made sure I was the last thing that he saw and heard. I just kept telling him how much I loved him. God, I was doing so good. Oh, I was just telling him how much I loved him and how much of a good boy he was. And he was looking right at me the whole time. But he tried so hard to stay with me. And I think that made it hurt. That made it hurt a little more. But then, once she said he was gone, it was like a big wave of relief just washing over me. Because it hurt so much to see him in so much pain that having him be, even though he was gone from me, he was also free from the pain, and that made me feel so much better than how bad it hurt to lose him, because I'd rather lose him and have him not be in pain than have him with me and him be in such unbearable pain. But so that was the hardest part, seeing him in pain. But like I said, big wave of relief, just like, because he wasn't in pain. And then Casey and my wonderful, wonderful vet, for like an hour, we just sat there and just groomed him. We brushed all the mud from him rolling off of him. Casey braided his mane and tail for me so that way I could have it. And oddly enough, all of that was really like calming. Like it kind of brought me back down to earth a little bit. But my vet stayed there for like an hour and a half or so. And she definitely didn't have to, but she's so wonderful. And then Casey and Scott and Logan, they helped kind of erase all the bad memories of the night. Okay, now I'm back. That was slightly awkward. I don't like talking with other people in the house. But anyway, Scott, Logan, and Casey, they were all amazing. They helped kind of erase the memories of the night. So Casey went and dumped Phantom's grain that I had set up for the morning, so I wouldn't have to see it in the morning. And then Scott, Logan, and Casey all helped me rake up the area where Phantom had been thrashing, so that way I didn't have to see it. Like, they went above and beyond to help me get through that night. And then later on, Casey force-fed me because I hadn't eaten anything since lunch that day. So she was like, you need to eat. And my head just felt like it was gonna explode from all the pressure. Like, just so much pressure. But the way I look at it is I took on his pain as my own, so that way he could be pain-free. And my dad, I really can't say enough. I really can't say thank you enough from supporting me. And then he paid Phantom's final vet bill, and he actually paid to have Phantom cremated for me because he knew I didn't like the thoughts of him going on the back of a truck. So I can't thank him enough for that. I know sometimes he doesn't think it, but I do appreciate it a lot. But it was so hard losing him. I felt like I wasn't ready to lose my constant. He was always there for me, and I was always there for him. I had promised him he would be with me until the end. I just didn't think the end would be so soon. I really am so blessed to have had him in my life. He had my heart. He was my world. He was my angel. And at times, he pretty much was my hero. He was so many things to me that losing him shattered my world a bit. I was losing a bit of myself. I didn't know how to allow myself to open up to my other horses. But they must have sensed that I needed them. Because over the last few months, I've noticed a bit of phantomness come out in the both of them. Especially with Dice. I don't know. He's still Dice, but there's a bit of Phantom in there. And he's pretty much stepping up to the plate. He's doing a pretty good job. I have to give him kudos. He's really not maturing because he's still an immature little pain in my butt, but it's like he's sensing things a little differently, and he can tell when I'm upset, and he handles it the way that Phantom would. Just kind of lets me do my thing, and is just there for me. This is definitely the first time that I'm publicly sharing this. I know I said I would before, but I don't think I was ready. So I've only shared it with a few friends before this about what exactly happened that night, but I feel like it's kind of therapy to just get it out there and hopefully make me start forgetting bits of it, because I remember it's been a year and I remember every single moment like it just happened. I have to say though, the worst part was the next morning, because I didn't even get out of bed. I just woke up and remembered what had happened the night before, and I started crying before I even took one step out of the bed. My daddy asked me if I wanted him to feed the horses in the morning. Now keep in mind during this, Phantom is still here. The crematorium could not come to pick him up in the middle of the night because it was late. So Phantom was still there, albeit covered up, but he was still there. And the crematorium was coming that morning. So my dad asked me if I wanted him to feed the horses, and I was like, no, it's something I have to do. And honestly, him still being there did not play a role in how upset I was that morning. Because that wasn't him. Like, it was him, but it wasn't him. What really killed me was going out there and not hearing him. Because he was always the first one to greet me with a nicker. But I just want to thank everyone who had an impact on Phantom and I, and if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't have had one of the best horses in the world. He will forever be in my heart, and I can only hope to continue down the path that I started with him. I love you so much, Phantom Man, and I miss you so much. I'll see you again. Anyway, thank you for listening to me babble. Like I said, if you want to watch, go ahead and watch. If you don't want to watch, just ignore it. This was just my way of kind of getting it out there and letting it go. Everyone has their own ways. So I figure after a year, I'm finally ready to let it go. Anyway, thank you.